So it was a fantastic week on the Magicians podcast last week. We had Simon Drake sit down with Alex and talk about the Secret Cabaret, which we've been trying to make happen for years. On Wednesday, we had Richard Wiseman sit down with Neb and Harry, go through his magic alphabet. I think possibly the funniest podcast we've ever had, actually. And then on Friday, we sat down with the legendary Las Vegas illusionist Rick Thomas. I think possibly it's one of the best weeks we've ever had here on the Magicians Podcast Network. And I'm delighted to say that we're getting this week off in a similar brilliant style. There's no Through the Magic of Television today. I've bumped that to Wednesday because instead we are delighted to say that we have been given the honour of breaking some really genuinely fantastic news for the magic community here in the UK. And that is that this summer, London is going to have a stage magic show on in a residency form, running from July the 25th to August the 24th, with, in my opinion, the greatest stage illusionist this country has produced in the last 50 or 60 years, Jamie Allan. The show is called AMAZE, and it's going to run at the Marylebone Theatre from those dates. Shows are going to run at 7 p.m. Some days it'll also run at 4 p.m. There's a pre-sale tomorrow, and tickets will go on sale to the general public on Wednesday. And I'm delighted to say that the man himself, friend of the podcast and my friend, Jamie Allan, is joining us right now. Jamie, thank you so much for letting us break this news to the magic community. And first of all, congratulations. This is fantastic news, not just for you, but for the magic community here in the UK in general. How are you feeling about it all?
I feel fantastic, Richard. It's always good to speak to you. And it's so lovely listening to your introduction. I find it difficult to accept all that kind of praise, and that's very, very kind of you. I'm not sure it's necessarily true, but I do appreciate it.
No, well, you're very modest, and I think proof for me, I always knew you were a great illusionist and had great ideas, but, a couple of years ago, you released your book, Everything, which I was very, very lucky to obtain one of the first copies of. And it's a coffee table book that's literally called Everything because it has your entire knowledge in it of everything you've done in show business since you were a kid, including some amazing stories about your mum and dad as well, of course, who also worked in show business. And when I read that book, and it took a long time, it's a thick book to get through it. By the time I got to the end, I was sure about what I just said, that there's no one else in stage illusion in the UK in the last 50 or 60 years, maybe longer, who has had such great ideas, who has worked so hard. And I think one of the first things, we're going to obviously talk about this run that you're going to do over the summer, but we spoke to Rick Thomas on Friday, and one of the questions I asked him was, how hard has it been to make a living as a stage illusionist? And actually, that's his point of view from across the pond. How hard has it been for you making your living as a stage illusionist over the last 20 years or so? Because you are a rare magician in the UK where you've never done close-up magic to top up your income. So what's it been like?
Well, you have an idea, don't you, what the answer's going to be? But I think it's something that, what does Andrew O'Connor say? The work must be the reward. And I think that that's never truer than being a stage illusionist, because, you win some and you lose some. And it's never plain sailing. Sometimes we have great times, don't we, where the money's flowing, and there's other times when it's an absolute disaster. And the thing that always gets me with stage illusion is, and I think it's better now, but back in the day, a lot of magicians used to kind of poo-hoo it a bit, really, and say that it was easy. And when you get beyond the idea of doing an illusion show where you're perhaps performing with your girlfriend or wife, and you have a couple of box illusions that you can practice in your conservatory and get in the car, the moment that you take that one step beyond that, where you need a crew and the props get bigger and you have more assistants, you're starting to talk about, you rehearse a new illusion and move it around. You're talking about 7-10 grand just to rehearse and move the prop and get the people in. And it's crazy. Yeah. And the money sounds ludicrous. And do you know why it sounds ludicrous? Because it is, right? And, you have to do these big figures in order to get it to kind of make sense. So no, it's not been easy, but, I think that I got through the worst of it about 5 years ago, or just before COVID hit. I finally kind of started to work it out. And until then, it was very, very hard. But I love it.
It's why you see so little innovation in the world of illusion, actually, isn't it? It's why, if you're a magician who's just done close-up gigs, or, you're into mentorism, you might look at stage illusion and go, why is it always the same boxes? Why are they still... And it's because it's so, so expensive to innovate in that world. The second you go from buying illusions that exist, like a slicer illusion or a cube zag or anything, and you want to move into the world of trying to do something original,
Hmm.
you're talking at least, what would you say, 5-6 times the price, if not more, like by the time you've done all the
Absolutely.
R&D and everything.
I mean, you've done it, and you're absolutely right. It's a very interesting viewpoint on it. And also, the truth of the matter is that stage illusion is a little bit of a dying art. I mean, it's certainly way past its heyday. And who knows, these things tend to come around. Maybe it will come around again. And I think that, I know that you've had to do this and I've had to do this, is find different ways of presenting illusion for today's audience, because the way that you and I grew up with it, that I kind of love. I mean, you have the perfect answer to it, which was to perform it as a parody so that you could do it exactly how it should be done.
That's the only way we could see a way that it
Yeah.
could work for two people who look like us. I think if you move into the world of stage illusion, and it was Russ Stevens who made me realise this many years ago. Actually, it was, I'm embarrassed to say I was a bit oblivious to it. It was Russ really got across to me the importance of what you look like if you're a stage illusionist. If you're gonna, it's different from doing close-up gigs where people are looking at your hands to suddenly they're looking at all of you, and you're having to move and execute these illusions and move these props in a way that looks elegant. And if you don't look a certain way, then I think, you know, if you look like me, basically, or strange, strange is
Oh.
cool, actually. I think the only option for us really was to kind of poke fun at it. Let's talk about AMAZE. I genuinely, I'm so excited about this. For me, we broke some news here a few months ago that there was lots of talk of some various magic projects opening in London over the summer. And I have to be honest, you kept very tight-lipped about it. Yours was not one of the ones that was on my radar. But here we are. You're going on sale
Hmm.
tomorrow. Actually, many of the projects that we reported on a few months ago actually have not come to fruition for various reasons. It's very, very difficult to actually get a show off the ground. One thing to talk
Hmm.
about it, but to get to this point where it's on sale and it's definitely happening is huge. I just want to read the brief for this show, because it's not the iMagician show. That's quite important. This is a show that
No.
you ran in Chicago over Christmas. It's a new show for you. This is the brief. As lights dim and curtains rise, prepare to journey into realms of mystery where the line between reality and illusion blurs, ensuring that every spectator leaves with a sense of awe. Rediscover magic as it should be: intimate, interactive, and utterly mesmerizing. Don't just watch the impossible, live it. At Jamie Allan's AMAZE. First of all, whoever wrote that is a fucking genius, because that sounds like a show I
Well,
wanted to see. But talk to me about this venue, first of all. It's 220 seats, something like
it's
that?
200. I think it's 212. We can seat. You can seat more if we don't use the front part of the thrust stage, which we are going to use. The thing about this theatre, I hadn't even had it on my radar. For a start, the Marylebone Theatre is right off of Baker Street. It's still in the West End, but the location of it is phenomenal. But it's a new theatre. Like, the building has existed as kind of a concert hall for a long time, but it's recently been transformed completely into a theatrical space. And the thing, it has a lot of new works, very arty stuff. We're very proud to go into there, really, because they are bringing in really critically acclaimed works. And when I heard it was 200 seats, I kind of had an idea of what that venue would look like. And the stage is still full. It's, there's 11 meters with a 9-meter proscenium opening, and the stage is 12 meters deep with a rake. It's like a proper theatre space. It's got, 6 meters of ceiling height. It's overwhelming for the audience size, which is just perfect for me.
Yeah. You're going to
Yeah.
exceed people's expectations, basically. They're going to walk in, see the size of the room,
Mhm.
and they're going to basically kind of have an expectation of the kind of show they're going to see, and you're going to blow them out of the water, really. You've got some great people helping you. Well, first of all, before we get to this, how has this come about? I can only imagine how. I think it's fair to say one of the most difficult things you can try and do with a magic show is get it open in London for an extended run. So I know to get to where we are today, that the tickets are going on sale tomorrow, has obviously been a long journey. How has this happened, if you don't mind
Well,
sharing?
it all came about slightly by accident and slightly purposeful. I was working on a show called the 63rd Minute, which was going to be a smaller show, higher ticket price, and we're still working on that show, actually. But that started getting myself and the team into this idea that we wanted to create something intimate. I've always wanted to do something intimate, and then the opportunity came up to take a space in Chicago for 7 weeks, which was about a 180-seater theatre, the Rhapsody Theatre. Beautiful theatre owned by Ricardo Rosenkrantz. It's a wonderful, wonderful venue. David Williamson's in there at the moment. So we had some US tour dates, and we decided that we were going to run this new version of the show and create a show for the Rhapsody. And we started by thinking, could we go to do the 63rd minute, this intimate show? And then we felt that's not very Christmassy. We wanted something that was going to appeal to the families. So it started off thinking, let's just do a best of, a kind of an intimate magic show. And then I realised, wow, there's such a story to tell here. I actually spoke to you, you'll recall, when I first came up with it, and I said, I don't know exactly what to do. And it was you that said to me, I think you should start from the truth, right? Just tell the story. And that led us down a rabbit hole, and it ended up becoming kind of therapeutic, this show, because all of the reviews for the show did pick up on what I wanted them to, that this is a narrative driven show. It's grounded in truth, and there is so much about it that is real, which is like unusual for a magic show. But the best thing is the audience get it. I mean, the people that want to come and see a magic show, yes, they get a magic show. But the people that want to see theatre, I think it transcends and walks finally on that line. I think that it satisfies the people that came for a theatrical show. And I want to say that you very kindly said at the start about my... I'm known as kind of an illusionist. I'm known as a few things, right? People think of me as the guy who does close-up magic on screens. They probably think of me as doing stuff with tech, and they think of me as an illusionist. And this is kind of a mix of all of those things. But this show, although it is large scale in terms of its production and what we're bringing into the venue, there are no illusions in the show. There are no stage illusions. Everything else, the magic is big, though, in the way that it's presented. And it's certainly different to anything I've done before. And I must say, probably the most I've enjoyed a show that I've ever done, because I used to have this fear about talking about myself. Like, when I started out, you felt like you had to do 40 minutes of material and then you could earn the right to tell them something about you. But I feel that the age we live in now, people are interested in the stories, and the stories in AMAZE are really things that we can all relate to. They're stories about me and my life, but everything relates to everybody in the audience and draws on their experiences. It's a real communal experience from that point. Did that kind of answer your question, or did I say way too much?
It did, and you're very kind to say that I said it should come from the truth. That's Andy Nyman. That's what Andy Nyman said to Strange and I many, many years ago. Be real, be who you are. You are interesting, and especially to normal people. We all forget because we all mix with each other, and we all see all these amazing magicians and things, but we all kind of think, oh well, I'm not interesting like David Blaine, or you are interesting. Your story, whoever you are listening to this, you are interesting to normal people purely just because you're a magician. How on earth does that happen? So yeah, that was Andy Nyman that made me realize that many, many years ago. I have to ask you, obviously I'm very excited to see this intimate show, but why has this transition happened from iMagician to AMAZE? Because iMagician, which I think you created, and the late great Anthony Owen directed it with you. I think 2012 was the first year you took it on the road. Yeah,
it was. I
why
think
the
that
transition?
Well, as you said, that show came back in 2012. That's 12 years old now. And I did iMagician. I'd like to think that there's a lot of things in this life that I'm not very good at, believe me, but I do think I'm quite good at spotting what is a trend and what is going to be the next trend. And I think that iMagician at the time, I took on the idea of doing a technology magic show when I think that was interesting to people, and technology was becoming more and more magical. So I started doing iMagician at the time the iPads were really starting to get going, and I think that people were fascinated by that movement in tech because there was a pivotal shift at that point. I think that now is the wrong time to be a tech magician. I do. I think that the tech is so amazing that I don't think the magic is as good as the tech is. And a tech magician's job is to try and make the tech more amazing. And how can you make it more amazing than artificial intelligence and everything? I mean, that's incredible. So I said, I think we had the best 10 years out of that show, and I felt that it was time to retire it. And it also started to feel like iMagician, is that not, just when I put the letter I in front of magician, it was a great thing. But now I think that's almost a little cliche.
Yeah.
So
You're
that's
so
why
right.
I just ripped the Band-Aid off and said, I've done it many times in my life, just said, right, let's just dump it all. And there are a couple of tech things in AMAZE because they're part of my journey. They're part of my story. Like, spoiler alert, that digital art is in the show, but not because of the trick that it is. It's there as a historic piece because it's there to tell part of my narrative, and it calls back to something else from my childhood, which is all true. And it's there because that was the tipping point for me, right? So it's important that it's in a show that has a narrative about me.
I'm excited that digital art's in it, actually. I do absolutely love that sequence. It's fantastic. I can't wait to see that. What was I going to say next? Sorry, I've lost my point. Ah, yes.
Well, it's the reason we were friends, Richard, by the way, because you liked that trick, and that's why you got in contact with me about the podcast, and that's why we kept in touch.
Well, at the time, yeah, it was totally grand. But, you talk about technology. I went into an Apple store yesterday, and while I was in there, they gave me a demonstration of their VR headset, which I have an Oculus Quest, which was about £300, and these things are 10 times the price. They're like $3,500, and I mean, I just couldn't believe what I saw. I'm in America at the moment. They're not. I think they're coming out. The guy said they're coming out in the UK at the end of July. But I mean, this tech has got so powerful now that it was almost quite emotional. The demonstration of it was so powerful, and we are competing with that. And so I think it's a very wise thing. Can we talk specifically a little bit about the AMAZE, the kind of narrative side to it? It goes back to your first box of tricks, doesn't it? Which a lot of magicians here might remember.
It does. The Fisher Price magic box, which was like a plastic box chamber. It was actually the perfect first magic set for a child because it was aimed at like a 5-year-old, and that's when I got it when I was 5. So I was the perfect age for this thing, and it wasn't ball and vase and stuff. Well, it was actually. There was literally a chicken and egg vase in there, but it wasn't that kind of box of junk that the kids couldn't do. This was a magic toy that you could move levers and things would appear and disappear. It was a fantastic unit, and that was my start. I got it for Christmas. I tell the story in the show, actually. It's funny. I got a Rubik's Cube, and I got that, and I picked the Rubik's Cube up. I had the Rubik's Cube for all of about 3 minutes, and then I saw the magic set, and I never picked up the Rubik's Cube again. Maybe that was a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a very modest person, but I'm going to say something that I know, which is the first time you did AMAZE, which was actually, you tested it on a cruise ship, didn't you? You got a standing ovation at the very first show, which is just unheard of. I mean, when I've done the first show or something, I'm usually just pleased if the audience have stayed till the end. Never mind.
Yeah. No, I know. I was terrified.
I think I've mentioned this once before. I do truly have this belief that magicians do their best work in their 40s, and you're in your early 40s now. And do you feel that? Do you feel a real clarity and understanding of magic and taking an audience on a journey, and honesty has come to you at this stage in your life?
I think I was just ready to do it. I think there's a point when you're trying to build up your career, and at that point it's important to maintain a certain impression, right? It's important that the people that are booking you feel they're booking somebody successful, and there's a wall that we magicians put up, even with each other. They're out. You can tell all these people that claim that they're doing all these gigs and they post them all up, but that when they're actually out, because they post every gig on Facebook, and you can almost count how many they're doing, but they say that they're doing another 3 that night, or I'm getting this amount of money and things. And I get that. It's like a protection thing. And I also don't have any problem with people, hyping up their publicity. That's what we all have to do, right? We have to sell the tickets. We've got to get people to buy. But when it's in the industry, I think I'd rather people don't bullshit me about it, because I know, and when it seems right. So yeah, it's a tough one for that. What was the question again? I deviated off of that.
About the sort of stage you're at in your life, and how that's kind of having a knock-on effect to the actual type of shows you're putting together.
Yeah, and I think that became, I got to a point where I'd had enough success, because when I did Chicago the first time at the Harris Theatre, and there we did the
And this
We
was
broke the
Christmas 2018, is that right? Christmas 20.
2018, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
2018 was the most successful run I've ever done because there we broke the box office records for that theatre, for Chicago, for Magic in all history at that time for the tickets sold, which was just crazy. And we had great publicity, and we had that show at the right time. Like it was and it's the only time that everything just gelled, and I think that after that I came home and I said to all my family, like, I could stop now. Like I feel that I achieved it. I think I achieved everything that I set out to do as a little kid. To have a 1,550 seater theatre, you've played it. It's a massive cavern, and and we were just down the road from Hamilton and Booker Moore. We're really on that strip of theatres there, and it really felt like, wow, this is incredible. And I landed at the airport, and a taxi pulled up that had my name on the top of it, and I was driving past billboards of me, and I got into the hotel room and turned on the TV, and there was an advert running, and I was like, wow, am I ever terrified? Like, if this doesn't go well, I will never get another chance like this. And when we got out the other side of that, and I was physically ill at the end of that run, as soon as we came down from the last show, I collapsed on my dressing room floor, and the rest of the crew had to load everything out. I think I've been holding so much for so many months. So after that, I just became more honest. I just became like, well, I've done it now. It doesn't matter. And I also feel a service to tell people, be careful what you wish for. And if you want it, this is really what it's like. And you have to do it because you love it and you see no other option. You see no other path open to you other than to do this. You must feel like that, right? You must feel like that with what you do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's really...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really difficult to do, isn't it? I mean, your producers that you're working with really are a fantastic group of people, and they know what they're doing in terms of marketing and stuff like that. You went back to Chicago, didn't you, this past Christmas with AMAZE, with the same producers again. And this, how many shows did you do there? It was you were doing multiple
38.
shows a day. Yeah, over how many days?
We were doing 5 days a week and 2 shows on certain days. This time we are doing up to 10 a week.
Wow!
But they won't all go on sale tomorrow. There'll be some that we're holding out.
Yeah.
We'll be Dark Mondays. We'll always be Dark Mondays. But other than that, we're doing a theatrical week.
You got a fantastic review while you were there from the Chicago Tribune. Do you think that has somewhat helped you get the show open in London?
It got the show open in London. That
Wow.
review was. I don't think I'll ever get another review like that, because I think I had a great reviewer that saw something in me at a time when nobody had, and that reviewer got to break it in a way, got to be the first one to say, look at this. And of course, the moment that happens, reviewers that will be coming to it in London will no doubt read Chris Jones's review of the Chicago Tribune. They'll say, well, let's have a look at this then, shall we? Well, I disagree. So it was a love letter, the review, and I'm eternally grateful to Chris for writing it. And there was literal tears around the house the morning that came out, when we got the 4 out of 4 stars. The only thing I wish Chris wouldn't do is rate things out of 4 stars, because you have to write it's a 4-star and you have to write under it 4 out of 4.
Yeah. It was an amazing review, and what I really felt like he captured in it was he understood that this was a magician at the peak of everything they'd done. Excuse the pun, considering your book is called Everything, but I really felt like he got that. Do you know, I'm just going to take a sidestep here. If you're watching on Spotify, you may have noticed that I've been drinking a bottle of Prime while this interview's going on. I want to tell you where this bottle came from. This is not a endorsement deal, obviously. They would never advertise it. I went to a WWE event a couple of nights ago at an arena in Toledo, and when we left, they were giving out Prime. And I mean, thousands of bottles of Prime they were giving out. So obviously I nicked one, and here's how their marketing has backfired, because I will say now, this tastes like utter shit. So, yeah, backfired a little bit there. Talk to me about... I've got the credits here. You've got 2 people that our listeners will know on the credits here. Harry DeCruz, who should be making fucking podcasts, but he's actually going to be with you. What's Harry doing for you in this show? Is he a bit of an overall consultant, or has he got a specific job?
Yeah, it's our company is very much like all hands on deck with everything. And whenever you've worked in real theatre, you realise that the producer is directing and the director is producing, and the stage, everybody, it's all a communal thing to get it together. So we don't really give titles as such because everybody's in on it. But Harry De Cruz has been with me since we did Illusionarium in Toronto, and then Magic Immersive, which we also did in Chicago. I keep going to Chicago. I should just move there. So yeah, Harry then worked with us on AMAZE. He'd been working with us on the 63rd Minute as well, and he worked with us on the narrative. And we've also now brought on, which you're probably just about to get to for this show, Jonathan Goodwin. Who's a genius, and Jonathan's been working with us as well on the magic and the narrative. There's a fantastic trick in this show that Jonathan came up with. It's fantastic.
Oh, don't spoil it.
I won't. It's a real fooler.
Can't wait. I know Jonathan currently is writing a book, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this book about all of his escapes and his life. So yeah, that's really, really exciting. Hey, listen, it wouldn't be a podcast here on the Magicians Podcast Network if I didn't take a little bit of a nose into the financial side of things. Of course, you've been telling to bugger off. But what's the deal here? Is this a four wall in the UK terms? Are you hiring the theatre? Is it like a co-production? Are you allowed to give us any insight into sort of what kind of deal a theatre in London is expecting with a magic show these days?
The theatres in London are mostly the same thing. You hire it, you're taking 99% of the risk. The theatre the theatre get a bit of the upside when it's good, and they get paid when it's bad. You know, that's how it kind of works across London and across the world for the most part. When you do a four wall, they still once you've rented their venue, they still want some of the money, but it's not much from that point of view. And we're going in. Actually, the reason that it all came about and it's working is we're doubling up with Brainiac. Do you remember that show, Brainiac?
Isn't that guy who was in Big Brother the host of that or something?
It's a science kids show, and Brainiac's in our theatre at 11 in the mornings doing an hour kids show.
I see.
And then we're there. We do the evenings and the matinees. Well, actually, our matinees are at 4:00 because it's in the summer holidays. So we've done. I mean, you know what the producers are like. They've done a lot of market research on when is the optimum times. So we believe that the shows at 4:00 and 7:00 are better than a 2:00 in the summer in case it's hot.
Good call. Do you know, it's a very exciting time for magic in London. I know we've got the Magician's Table opening, I believe, in September. So
I reckon. Did you see the trailer?
Well, it's got Harry De Cruz in it again. He should be making fucking podcasts. He's been doing. He kept that quiet.
He kept that quiet, didn't he?
Yeah, Harry De Cruz is in the trailer for. He's doing everything. This guy's doing everything. Good. Well done.
I loved the eye makeup. I've got to tell him to keep that.
We should also say it's a big week for Harry De Cruz. He turns 30 this week. So he's, that's very, very exciting. 30, I can't believe it. I've known him since he was like 14. But yes, and do you know, have you heard this rumour as well? The rumour I've heard is that Penn and Teller will be in the West End next summer at the London Palladium, potentially for 5 weeks. Have you heard this?
I mean, this is just going to sound like such a clanger, but Penn told me that. So yeah, I know that.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible, isn't it? So yeah, there's a few other projects, as we mentioned.
No, hang on. No, Glenn told me. Glenn, their manager, told me.
Their manager, he told you so. Yeah. So that's we got that to look forward to next summer. It's their 50 years together as Penn and Teller, and they're going to do a run at the London Palladium. I assume in a similar slot to where. Go on.
I was going to say Penn wanted to go back to Hammersmith Apollo. He absolutely loves that theatre, loves it, and he didn't really want to do the Palladium as much, but he's going to love it. I was saying that he's going to absolutely adore it. It's the most incredibly intimate space, the Palladium. For the size of audience, you can stand up on that stage, and it feels like it's much smaller than it is when you're on the stage.
I think that it's probably going into the same slot that like Hello Dolly is going into this summer. Obviously, Andy Nyman's in Hello Dolly, but yeah, my understanding is they'll be there over next summer. I have no idea when the tickets will go on sale for that, but that's
I can tell you what I know isn't going to happen.
Go for
I
it.
can tell you for an absolute fact that I won't do the West End next summer if Penn and Teller are there.
Yeah, that would be a mistake, wouldn't it? I think to try and run against them. But
Yeah.
yeah, hey, let's talk quickly about your book, everything, just before we wrap things up here. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. Are they still available? By the way, is there still a few left? I think you.
We have some. We were holding some of my stock back, and we're going to put some of those on sale. And we are preparing a second edition of it because we don't want to keep printing the first edition because I think it's only fair that we let those be for the people that got them in the first place. So
Yeah,
the second edition will be slightly different in its format. I can tell you now it will be over 2 books and they'll be slightly smaller. Um, and
yeah,
we will get to those. I might try and get those out for Blackpool next year, but there will be a few, but not many on the website. I'll try and update the website and put a few on there. As now that you've mentioned it, I'm going to make sure we put some news on there because usually whenever somebody mentions it, we get like a couple of bings. And we go, oh great, there's another takeaway paid for.
it's an incredible book with your life's work in it. Basically, some incredible illusions that you could design, and also, of course, just card tricks and stuff in there as well, which surprised me. Some brilliant card tricks
Yeah.
that you put on the big screen when you do shows. There is also an amazing story in it, which is about the Houdini musical, which you spoke to us about when you were on the podcast many years ago, actually, about a show that you opened that didn't quite work out, a show business. And it's incredibly open and honest. You talk about the sort of mistakes that you've made. So I would recommend it genuinely if anybody's listening to this to consider
Mm.
doing it. Jamie, one other thing I want to talk to you about just before we wrap this thing up is over the last few years, you have actually been doing some tour dates in the US, haven't you? You've been doing your own
Yes.
shows over there, touring around. How's that going for you?
It's a hard nut to crack, isn't it, Richard? You know this. You've built it up with Champions. That show has been built up over years and years and years. Where our model has always been, and still very much is, to identify a market and go in and blitz that market. Because I firmly believe that you're far better off going and doing 20 or 30 shows in a single venue and absolutely blitzing the media so that everybody knows you're there than it's hard to sell tickets going from night to night to night because you know what it's like. Some venues are fantastic, like we did Parker Arts in Colorado, incredible, gorgeous theatre. They did the marketing exactly as we said, and you know what? They sold out, completely sold out within 5 days of going on sale. It was my fastest on sale to sell out ever. And then we followed that with a show where like nobody came because they didn't
Yeah.
do anything. And then we did one of my favourite ones that we did in this tour is we went to Nebraska. It was like in the middle of nowhere. We went to this little town, like little town America. It was exactly the America that I'd always wanted to travel, not the big cities. It was this town, and everybody in the town knew that we were coming. And it was like a fantastic audience because they don't get a big magic show come in. So when
Yeah.
Rock One rolled into town, everybody came out for it. And honestly, the theatre was only half full, but that was about everybody that had the night off. That was like the bulk of the population. And God, that was a good night.
I much prefer it, actually. We've obviously been very lucky with Alex Jarrett to have toured all over, and we've done the big cities, and they call it the secondary market when you go to these towns
Hmm.
that you kind of haven't really heard of. They're much more fun. You're an event in that town that night, and like you said, everybody comes. And quite often, you can see if you look through the curtain, they all know each other. They're chatting to each other,
Yeah.
during intermission. And actually, when you go to the
Hey,
big cities, it's a bit like going to the Fringe. You're just one thing that they've done that day, and it's not quite the same.
have
So,
you ever? Has Champions ever done St. Louis or St. Louis?
St. Louis, Missouri, yeah, I think we have. Yes, I think I
Do you ever
remember us
sell
doing
any
that one.
tickets there?
I don't. So bad. I
I
genuinely
found
couldn't
it.
tell you. I don't remember. Don't remember
That
one
was the
town to
one
the
that I
next,
found.
unfortunately.
That was the one that I found was the toughest market to get word out.
Well, a very smart
Not
producer.
Magic fans.
Yeah, a very smart producer I spoke to once said to me that one of the most frustrating things about being a producer when you're doing magic shows is that there are no patterns. So you
No,
can go to
not
one
at all.
town with the same show, same size venue, all the same marketing budget, and you sell out, as you said, in a few days, and then you can go to a town 100 miles down the road, do exactly the same thing, and it can be an absolute disaster. And
I
there's
learned
no
that
patterns.
in England. I remember I did the Dartford Orchard the first time I did. I did 3 UK tours with iMagician, and we did Dartford Orchard, and we came within 30 seats of selling it out, and then we said, great, we book it in again. Went back the next time. I think we did 150 seats, 200 seats.
It's tough. Yeah.
We thought it was going to be more. They were talking about adding a second show when we went back there. But I mean, that was in the days when I was stupid enough to try and tour in the United Kingdom.
Wow, yeah, that's tough, isn't it? Inverness was always a place where we did very well. And it's a similar thing, actually. They would be very... here's a great tip for a magician in the UK. If you ever want to do a show, go to Inverness. They're very, very grateful that you've made the very long journey to go to Inverness, and they will come out and support you in droves.
Or do you remember, if we want to take this whole podcast full circle, do you remember we were talking about if you're an illusion act where you're using your wife or your girlfriend and a couple of boxes that you can rehearse in the conservatory and take in your car, that's the show you need to be touring in the United Kingdom.
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
The truck. Don't even think about taking a truck.
Jamie, it's been so great to catch up with you. Just congratulations. This is absolutely amazing. London has a magic show which is going to run over the summer 2024. So once again, the details, it'll be at the Marylebone Theatre, running from July the 25th to August the 24th. The tickets, the pre-sale is tomorrow, and tickets go on sale to the general public on Wednesday. The website is amazemagic.com. Get your tickets, go and support Jamie, go and support this amazing show. You will not be disappointed. It's going to be a fantastic evening of magic. I cannot wait to see it. Jamie, thanks so much for chatting to us. Really appreciate
Richard, it's
it.
always such a pleasure. Thank you for breaking this for us.
Thanks for letting us.
I was kind of excited. You know, I'm such a supporter of this podcast. I'm such a fan of it. I really hope that it continues to grow and grow and grow. And anything that I can ever do for you, always, I will.
Really appreciate it. So there we go. Thank you so much. If you're missing through the magic of television, don't panic. It will be with you on Wednesday. And on Friday, Hudson and I are going to be chatting to Nick Lacapo from Penguin Magic. It's a really fun podcast in which Hudson gets busted for performing Bandana Banana. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you then. Have a great week. See you on Friday.